Welcome to my channel. This tutorial covers the principles of drafting stand collars and turn down collars in 3 styles: basic, fitted, and relaxed. All measurements given are suggestions based on the garment used in the tutorial, but can be adjusted to your garment's neck measurement and personal style preference. Let's get started. All right, so the first thing you're going to do is open up the project file that has the garment in it that you want to make the collar for. So I went to File, Open, Project, and this is the bodice block project that I have available on my Patreon. Now, if you're working with your own garment pattern, the important thing to know that is going to be different is the inputs for the neck measurements, so for the front and the back neck measurements. Of course, if your collar is drastically different, then some of the proportions of the curves are also going to be different, but go ahead and use most of the numbers that I provide besides the neckline measurements just to get a sense of what the collars do, and then you can adjust from there. All right, so the first step in actually creating our pattern is going to be using the rectangle tool. That is the S hotkey, and that is right here in the 2D toolbar. And I'm just going to click anywhere in the 2D window. And for the width, I actually want it to be the back neck measurement. So that's this measurement along the back here, which for me is 3 inches. And for the height, I'm just going to start with 2 inches. That's going to be how tall the stand is for the collar. If you want a different measurement, you can play with that. But if you don't really know what you want, just go ahead and start with 2. Go ahead and click OK. All right, I've labeled these points A, B, C, and D. And now we're going to offset the measurement for the front of the collar. So that is this measurement right here, which is for me 4 inches. I'm just going to, using the edit pattern tool, which is the Z hotkey, and right here in the 2D toolbar, I'm just going to right click line BD and choose offset pattern outline. And then for the distance, I'm going to type in that 4. That is my front neck measurement. Everything else, I'm just going to leave the same. Go ahead and click OK. All right, those points I just offset, we're going to name E and F. All right, let's go ahead and sew this to our garment while we just have half of it. Now pay attention to which side of the garment I'm going to sew this to, although at the end of the day, you're going to probably make 2 sides of your collar and it's not going to matter too much anyway, but just for ease, go ahead and go to the segment sewing tool, which is the N hotkey, and right here in the 2D toolbar, click line CD near C, and then click the back neckline near center back. That's going to put those notches here and here. That looks good. And then similarly, click line DF, and then click line DF near D, and then click the front of the neckline near the shoulder. And that should sew that just fine. All right, let's go ahead now and unfold the center back on the fold. So going back to that edit pattern tool, or the Z hotkey, just right click line AC and choose unfold symmetric editing with sewing. Great. Now we can place the collar on the garment in the 3D window. So I'm going to the Q hotkey, which is the select move tool that's here in the 3D toolbar. Right click the collar pattern and then choose superimpose side. And that's just going to put it where it's sitting. If you're really nervous about where it went, just, press space to simulate and you'll see it's totally fine. All right. And now, because this is a collar, we actually want to make this out of 2 pattern pieces, but to make it easier to work with while we're working and even just like visualizing in CLO, we don't really need to make 2 pattern pieces. We can just tell CLO that it's double-sided. So now we're going to select the collar piece in the 3D window, then go to your property editor, and under selected line, go ahead and click let's see, I'm going to select that again. All right, okay, selected line. I'm going to click double-sided and turn that on, and that will just actually, it'll affect the properties just slightly. And if you can't see it, it's probably because you aren't on thick textured surface. And there you go. All right, now this next step is optional, but I just think it looks nice. This collar, the little tips kind of overlap a little bit, and it's kind of lacking any kind of style or pizzazz. So I'm just gonna go to the smooth curve tool, which is in the 2D toolbar. Here, I'm gonna actually close out of these editors. It's in the 2D toolbar. If you click and hold on Edit Pattern, it's under Smooth Curve. Just go ahead and click that, and then click and drag on point E as far as it will go, which is about 2 inches. And it'll give you this nice little styled curve at the center front of your collar. And that is our first collar that we're going to make. This is this basic stand collar. It fits just very basic, straight up and down. The other collars that we're going to explore will either fit closer to the neckline or fit further away from the neckline, but this is the basic one. So now that we have the basic stand collar, I'm actually going to make it into a basic turn down collar. And to do that, the first thing I'm going to do is grab the Edit Pattern tool, or the Z hotkey, and I'm just going to offset this pattern outline, and I'm going to create a fold line in the process. So Shift click line C, D, and DF just to select them. Now right click the selection, offset pattern outline. The distance, it can be anything you want. This is going to be the stand of the collar. So I'm actually going to choose 1.5 inches because the collar was already 2 inches. So this will give like a little like half-inch kind of overlap over the back. I think it'll be fine. Offsets is fine. We do want to check create internal lines because that's going to be a fold line that we could use later. Go ahead and click OK. And the nice thing is, this is our offset line, and it's still true to our neckline, so the 3 inches and the 4 inches, because we offset it as, I don't know that there's any option that would make it not do this, whether it's mirrored extend or perpendicular. So that's great. We always want to check that we're not ruining the trueness of the collar to the neckline. All right, so if I simulated now, you could see I could, click and drag this collar down, and it looks kind of dorky. It's actually, okay, so it's kind of like an Eton collar, in that, like, this fold line is kind of like keeping it up, so it's going up in the front before coming down. It's just kind of silly. Like, I could sew it here and here. And look, okay, well, maybe that's the style you want. And then, in which case, so be it. But that's not the style that I'm going for. So what I need to do is actually encourage this fold line to follow the neck and hit at the center front, right at the garment neckline. So I'm just going to go to the Edit Pattern tool, the Z hotkey, and I'm just going to grab this internal line, and I'm just going to drag it down to overlap with point F. So that's where everything went when I offset. So there we go. And then, it's giving this kind of shape. It's a more elegant fold line if I then go to the Edit Curvature tool, which is the C hotkey. And that's right here in the 2D toolbar, Edit Curvature. And I just kind of click and drag, trying to make it like a smooth curve coming out of here and then to there, and go ahead and simulate, and look at that. That's nice and cute. That's a much more attractive collar than we had a couple steps ago. So there you go. So that now is our basic turn down collar. It's it's a little bit sticking away from the neck on my version, but it's not like close to the neck. It's also not sticking away from the neck. It's just very basic. Of course, it has this little curve here. You don't really need to have that curve if you don't want to. All right, so if you want a more fitted collar, then we're actually going to go back to the first steps and make just a basic stand collar again. I'm just going to go to the Transform Pattern tool, or the A hotkey, and I'm just going to right click the pattern and then choose Archive. And so that will make it go away in the 3D window. If I want to get it back later, I can just right click and choose Unarchive. But for now, I'm just going to go ahead and redo the first couple steps to get that stand collar. All right, I made the stand collar again. It's also in place, it's double-sided. And I didn't curve the corner this time just because I wanted to explore some other options. And we're actually going to go back to this place one more time for the third collar style. So I'm just, for my own sake, I'm just going to copy this using Control-C and then just paste it somewhere else in the 2D window. Just go ahead and we'll actually just archive that for now so that we don't have to deal with it and we can use it later. All right, so this next collar is going to be a fitted stand collar. So basically the only difference is that there's going to be some curvature on the or on the outside of the collar that's going to help hug it to the neckline. And you can see, from a side view that you can put that curvature really anywhere you want that you need it to kind of hug in. So, maybe the center back would actually be a good place. But for right now, I'm just going to focus on basically from the side seam to the center front, curving that up. So to do that, we're going to go to the fullness line tool that is right here in the 2D toolbar. You have to click and hold on fullness point to go to fullness line. And we're just going to start by clicking point B, clicking point E, clicking point D, and then clicking point F. And this fullness window will pop up. And we just want to focus on the fullness line length right now. And like I said, we want to make that first line smaller. So I'm going to go negative 0.5 inches. You can do whatever you want, but that gives you kind of a place to start. Go ahead and click OK. And then when we simulate, you can see that starting to kind of curve in near the front. Of course, it's got kind of, it's really hugging her neck very nicely now. But now it's got kind of like an ugly overlap. So we can just fix that by going to the Edit Pattern tool or the Z hotkey, right-clicking line BE and choosing Change Length. And let's just take away a 1/2 inch. That's about as much as I think we need to for that overlap. So 0.5, oh, no, 3 inches. So there we go. Go ahead and click OK. Okay, yeah, and then the direction is start, so it's only affecting this side, so click OK. And yeah, so there's a little bit of an opening there, but I think that's a really nice refined look for a stand collar that is fitted. And that's really all there is to that one. So again, the only difference is that it's really hugging the neck more. It's a little bit more of a refined look if that's what you want. Now we can take this base and use it to create a fitted turn down collar. So this turn down collar is also going to have a curve to it. And to achieve that, we're going to need to do a couple of different things. So first, we need to create a fold line that is from this line right here. So I'm going to the Edit Pattern tool or the Z hotkey, and I'm going to shift click line CD and line DF just to select them. I'm going to right click the selection and then I'm going to choose duplicate as mirrored internal line. And now it's asking me to click somewhere, clicking a reference line, and I want to click line CD because that will line that line up with CD, but it'll make it go the mirrored direction, which is very convenient. And now it's kind of going off into space and we need to adjust, we need to like add a collar stand. So I'm going back to that Edit Pattern tool. I'm going to shift click lines CD again. And this time I'm going to click the selection. I'm going to drag down on the Y-axis and I'm holding shift to lock it in. And while I'm doing all of this, I'm going to right click so I can type in an exact distance. And so we're adding the stand to this collar, and because it's a fitted collar, I think it actually works pretty well if you use the same height as you used for the initial stand. So that was 2 inches. If you do any more, it just gets kind of pinchy. It really just wants to be there. You could do less and then you would see the stand collar when it folds over, but just play around and experiment to see what you think and what you like. Go ahead and click OK. All right, and when I simulate, it's up here, and if I fold it down, then it's still got that same kind of thing where the fold line is kind of pretty high up the neck in the front. There you go. If that's the look you want, then, it's actually kind of cute. A little bit cuter, I think, it's than the last version. But But that's not what I want. So I actually have to manually click and drag point F, or this internal line, back down to point F. I'm just going to go to the edit pattern tool, click this point right here, and then just drag it down and then press space to simulate. And you can, play around with this curve too. You can adjust that just to make it a little bit smoother if you want. But yeah, this is a very tight, a little bit more formal of a fit. I just want to double check. Yes, none of the bottom of my collar is still trued. And at this point, we don't really want to touch line CD because that fits. But you can grab point E and, point B and even point A and play around with these as much as you want to get the style of, or the shape of this collar that you would like. All right, so that is the fitted stand collar and the fitted turn down collar. Now I'm just going to go back to that transform pattern tool, the A hotkey, right click this pattern, and then choose archive. Great, I'm just going to put this over here with this guy. Now we're ready to make the last option. I just repeated the first steps until I had the stand collar again. And now this is going to be the relaxed stand collar. So we're actually going to make the outside part of the stand collar come away from the neck. And this is helpful if you want to make like a Medici collar, or, you want like the villain look, or if you just want like a more relaxed collar, or even if you just have some fit issues and you want to adjust that. So the way that you make the collar go away from the neck is by using that fullness line tool we love. Click that tool, and then wherever you want it to go away from the neck, for this tutorial, because it's going to lead into the next part of the collar, I'm going to just focus on the front again. So click point B, click point E, click point D, and click point F. And this time, instead of taking away from that fullness line, we're actually going to add 2 inches to it to make it curve downward. Go ahead and click OK. And when I simulate, you can see that it's curving away from the neck. It's got some flea collar vibes to it for sure. But yeah, depending on where you use that fullness line tool, like if you wanted it to come away from the neck more on the side seam, you would focus that fullness line tool right around that point B. Or if you wanted to come out in the neck, you would focus around it. Point A. So really wherever you're putting that line is where it's going to be more full. And then the amount of you add is of course going to affect how full it is. Now, because we're going to make, so this is all I have to tell you about the relaxed stand collar. It's chill, it's relaxed. Now, that distance that we moved, that 2 inches, so that of course made this collar spread out more, but what it's going to do is actually affect how tall the stand is for the turn down, the relaxed turn down collar. So let's go ahead and get into that. We're going to go to a new tool that we haven't used yet in this tutorial, the trace pattern tool, which is the I hotkey, and right here in the 2D toolbar. So click that tool. We're going to click line CD and then, DF. Gotta move my points down here. So DF. But we're going to click line CD and DF, right click the selection and choose trace as internal shape. So that's just going to put that internal fold line right where lines CD are. And now that we've done that, we're actually just going to click and drag point C until it lines up with point F. So just dragging that. Oh no, I didn't want to drag that internal line. I'm going to undo that. When I click that, I want to click the pattern, and that is what I want to drag down. Great. And now the same with the point D, and click that straight down. And now that created a weird curve here, which is, line DF. And to get rid of that, we're just going to right click that line and then choose delete all curve points. And now we have a straight line from C to D and from D to F, which is great. However, when we check the line lengths, this 3 inches is good because we brought that point D straight down, so that's fine. But this is quite a bit shorter than 4 inches now, which means it's no longer true to the front neckline. So to fix that, just real simple, I have the edit pattern tool. I'm just going to box select points E and F, including that internal line, and then holding shift, I'm just going to drag it along the x-axis until that line says 4 inches right here between D and F. And now I know that they are trued again. So when I go ahead and press space to simulate, look at that. Ooh, that's kind of a look. I'm going to go ahead and pull this collar down, which, by the way, if you have been struggle busing with pulling these collars into shape, there's a couple of tools you can try. One is just click this line with the edit pattern tool, go into your property editor, choose the fold angle and make it 360, and that's going to want it to bend it into place, and that should help you. If that's still not enough, you can right click the pattern in the 3D window and choose strengthen, and that will really reinforce that fold. So those are some tricks you can try if you're really struggling to get these patterns to fold the way you want them to. But I'm going to go ahead and unstrengthen, and I'm going to restore this fold angle to 180 because I think it looks more natural. Go ahead and click space. Great. And now that this collar is trued and it's in shape, we can go ahead and also don't touch this line CD or DF, but you can play with point E, making this collar whatever shape you want it to be. And this style of collar, you can see that there's like a little bit of like kind of burbling here. So this relaxed turn down collar, it really wants the shirt to be open more at the center front. So like imagine like like a short sleeved button down or whatever. So I'm just going to change my sewing lengths here by going to the edit sewing tool, and maybe I'll just bring this down like here. I have to bring it down on both sides, and if I press space, you can see, oh yeah, it just wants to hang, wants to be left open. So this is a much more relaxed, casual type of collar as opposed to our more fitted turn down collar and stand collar, and then just like our basic one. So yeah, those are our 3 collar options, collars 3 ways. And I hope that was informative on just how collars work, the different types of shapes that you need to do to make the effects that you want. And if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Thanks, everyone.